Hey everyone, Falcon197 here, and today I'm bringing you a base overview video in 7 Days to Die. And what I'm going to be showcasing is none other than the Fort Knox base that I designed a couple alphas ago now. The layout is based off of the Federal Depository Vault in the real Fort Knox, which is essentially a massive bank vault for all of America's gold bullion and some other national treasure, but as someone who's both a huge fan of the 7 Days base building system and also somewhat of a student of historical fortresses and other secure places around the globe, when I set out to make a new horde base for the group that I play this game with, I wanted to go for something with a bit of realism to it. It seems like most of the base design videos you get when you look online or go onto YouTube and search 7 Days to Die bases, it's like everyone is on this bandwagon of making their horde base as totally cheesy as possible, in ways that either take advantage of the zombie AI's pathing to try and string them along an infinite loop, or they abuse the voxel system to have different things floating so that the zombies can never get them. And for me, that style of base building doesn't offer an authentic horde type of experience. Now, that's not to say that all of these different tower and stair and pit horde bases that you see are bad or anything, but I understand what they're about, and that's just not how I roll. I'm big into immersion, and when I build a base, I like to go for a more realistic layout and try to make something that's inspired by the real world. I look at real buildings and I ask myself, what would be potentially used as a base in an actual zombie apocalypse? And I think it's a shame, really, that no one's made a movie where the concept has a group of survivors in the real Fort Knox holding out against a zombie horde, since we know, sure, military bases are typically the first things to go down in an apocalypse, but dare to imagine what would happen if a team of armed soldiers decided, you know what, we're going to hold up in the gold depository, which, by the way, is built to survive a nuclear bomb blast. We're going to sit up on the roof and we're going to shoot anything that comes in, and we're just going to watch the zombies try and beat our doors down while we sit up top and rain hell on them. I think that'd be an awesome thing to see in a movie, but I digress. Let's get into the actual base tour with that in mind, since it was what inspired me to go and build all of this. I also took advantage of the modding community for 7 days and added, I should say, a series of mods to my game, and my group has them too. We have mods adding more guns, more vehicles, and more craftable blocks to improve the variety to our windows, our doors, basically give us more toys to play with without going over the top on realism. So I'm mainly just going to walk around and show off different areas in the base with some commentary on a few things. I plan to post this on the 7 Days forums, put this video up with some screenshots and a couple notes on the design. Feel free to ask any questions or offer any feedback. I hope you all enjoy this. I know I had a blast with building it, and I have blueprints of the design available along with the mod listing I use if anyone's interested. You can actually build about 95% of this structure the same way without mods, but the doors and the windows won't look as good. So let's walk on through. Alright, so coming through the front door, we have a double airlock starting out. So these two double doors are pretty stout on their own, but we have bars here which can be closed off so that if zombies do breach through, they can be shot through the bars, either standing on this side in the little entryway or through these gun ports, which cover the first part of this foyer here. And there's also space for turrets. This window is one-way glass and goes into a security room, which we'll get into eventually. And then, of course, there's the main front door, which is a vault door, which has a lot of HP to it, but that's fair considering that you can have a lot of zombies wailing on this thing if they actually manage to breach in this far. So if we open our blast door and walk through, we come into the main corridor here, and we find these two big bays. One of which is our crafting area for our forges and some workbenches. We also have drawers on the walls for all of our materials and kind of everything we use. Chem labs off to the right, similar storage for those. We have our basement access point here, which goes down into our mine tunnels. If we build this base by hand, we try to situate it over the top of at least one mining node, so we can use this as either an indefinite iron mine or something else. Tunnel down, get all of our stone. There's really no limits to what we can do there. I don't have a mine to show off at the moment, but that's just kind of the access point for it. Continuing around, we can go into one or the other side of the base through these double doors. Again, these are all modded assets. So we find kind of a walking corridor here that's sealed through. If we go into the security center, you can see the other side of that one-way glass, kind of out the windows, a few other miscellaneous storage things here. One of the mods we have is for CCTV cameras, which I forget who the mod author is, but he included screens along with cameras that can be placed down and wired up so you can actually get camera coverage. And this is a room that's designed to do that. I won't be really showing it off here, but we can use this room for other things as well. And then if we go to the other side of, I guess what would be the south side of the base, find another secured corridor, ladder access up to the roof. We have ladders on all four corners that go up to the roof, so it's easy to get upstairs if needed. So this would be our back gun ports that face kind of the bays or the garage that cover the back entrance as well. So if zombies happen to breach through the doors, if the turrets keep them off the door, leading into the dump area and kind of the main entrance into the base from the back side, you can have shooters positioned here to kind of keep them away from the walls or from breaching in and managing any targets that the turrets can't cover. But let's go on through to that other side. So this is another kind of hallway. Ladder going up. This would be the back side of the gun ports. Fortunately, the blast door is kind of blocking this, but if it's closed, you can actually... Here, I'll shut this so that we may see. Yeah, so if we have shooters positioned covering the front door, any breach can be managed here in addition to the turrets, and these little frames are in place to prevent crawlers from just jumping through. And then we have our, actually our dump room full of crates, and it doesn't have to be these boxes. We like to use them, but we also use wood crates and other things when we've built the base up from scratch. This would be where our looters who go out, when they bring things in, they dump things off, it gets sorted. Got a cell pile box there. We have a double airlock with modded doors on the back entrance into the bay, which can hold 2 vehicles. So as our looters come in, they can just pull in, offload here. They don't have to worry about being hassled by zombies from the outside. Now we'll make our way upstairs. So this area is a bit open, but sometimes we'll put turrets at the tops of the stairwell here. We've never actually had a zombie horde breach all this way in, so hasn't been fully necessary, but we've got a ladder that goes up to the 3rd floor, which I'll come back to. If we just walk into the 2nd floor, we have access to the roof. Down one corner, we've got individual rooms for all of our people. This is just a base setup that I threw in. People tend to customize their rooms as they see fit. At the very end, we've got a little kitchen area, custom storage for all the food, for our cooks to use. And then we've got the armory. Gun crates for everyone and enough weapons to take over Paris, or something smaller. At any rate, this is where all the weapons get stored. And then if we make our way up to the loft area, call this the place of last retreat, although we've never had to use it for that purpose because nothing has ever really breached into this space. But it's also there as an overflow in case we end up having more than 2 people to each of these 4 rooms. And this door just loops back around to the stairwell. Alright, now if we go out on the ramparts, you can see we've got spotlights wired at the corners. These currently are not hooked up, but we've got pretty good line of sight all the way around. We've got ladder hatches going down to each of the 4 corners, so if defenders who are on the ramparts need to drop down to cover a breach from the front or the back, they can just easily do that. Shimmy down the ladders there. We've got the fence, the perimeter fence is spaced out just far enough to where we can look over the ramparts without having to worry about the ledge getting in the way of our peak, but we can also jump up if needs be. The interesting thing about when hordes come through, now obviously this isn't fully set up, this is just kind of a bland starter version of it, but we'll do spikes, we'll do other things to seal this off. these pieces of fence are also kind of a modded, upgraded version of the default industrial fence, so it's harder for zombies to just breach through them easily. But what I was saying is the pathing on the zombies, for anyone who looks at this and says, well, you've got a nice big base, but you don't really control the pathing, what's to stop them busting in the windows? The surprising thing, the pathing does tend to steer most of the horde to the front or the back doors. They don't really mess with the windows because there's 3 layers to this glass. There's the outer bars, there's kind of a middle tier of bulletproof glass that's modded, and then there's the innermost level of glass or layer of glass. And the base itself is also triple layered all the way around as well, with the outermost layer being concrete, the middle sandwiched layer of steel that's here, and then the innermost layer of concrete. And this was done with intent because when I first built this, I wasn't sure what the horde was going to do with it. In the event that they decided they were going to just try to punch through at any random point, I wanted them to have a hell of a time doing that. But what I found is they just go for the doors, and we're able to contain and control them pretty easily from above or from ground level, from within. These little pillboxes on the side are just kind of a point of retreat for anybody who might be street level during horde night. If they're running around the inside of the fences and there's a large breach and they need to go somewhere, they can duck inside one of these, still shoot out, have defenders cover them from up top. And of course, we do have a ladder access for the high point of the roof in case we have someone with a longer range sniper or something wanting to provide cover. I also installed these slots as optional spaces to put solar panels, so that just makes everything flow together nicely for the power management side. But overall, that is the base. And I wish I had footage from an actual horde night to show, but unfortunately I haven't been running recording software during those times. The design works very well though, and despite its size, if you have a large enough group of people to manage the ramparts during the defense or the different angles, front and back, to really deal with breaches if there are any, you really can use the structure as a superb place to hold out against any size of horde. We've done small hordes, we've done large hordes. In fact, at one point we even had 10 people on here with the spawn set to 12 per person, and the most that they were able to do was breach through the first 2 layers of the front door. They didn't get through the vault, they didn't get through the back door, and the windows were practically untouched. So the nice thing about this glass, again, is the fact that it's one way, and with it being 3 layers, it does really provide a nice amount of protection. So that's basically it in a nutshell. Again, if anyone's interested in seeing what the blueprints are for how to make this structure, I also do have an exportable prefab available. However, you would need the mods installed first in order to drag and drop that prefab into a world and have it load correctly. So I had a lot of fun putting this place together, not just doing the layout, the design work, but also formulating plans for our miners and resource gatherers to build it from scratch. And I've even built a damaged variant of this structure as kind of a starter place for everybody to go when we start a new world. We have a damaged variant that we can start out in and slowly repair over the course of time into what you see now as the sort of the finished product. That's another experience in itself, and I may showcase that damaged version of this base at some point in time. But for now, I just wanted to show this off. Let the community see it, let people judge it, and if anyone is interested in trying to replicate it or use it, I'm happy to help. So, thank you all so much for watching.